Integration is the act of inclusivity, the combining of one thing with another to become whole. So imagine puzzle pieces coming together to create a large picture, a large frame which allows all their pieces, all their unique sizes and expressions to come together, and they come together with other, you see, and they create a larger purpose, the picture in the puzzle piece. And much like the idea of a machine, having different parts come together to create a large, purposeful machine that works in a specific order, right? With all these different mechanics inside of it. On the topic of integration or grief, stuck feelings or helplessness, these are all just some states which can occur when working with and realizing one is deep down wanting and desiring integration. As it comes to the act of integration, some can confuse what it actually means and is required when integrating something. But why is integration important first off? The act of adding what is to become whole should tell you the answer in itself. We're making sure all parts which already exist are being included and harmonized. We are looking at many factors, parts, or puzzle pieces, whatever name you want to label them. And we're having this recognition that they already exist. This is a big portion of what integration is. If it already exists, what do we do with it then? What is the larger picture, or machine, or ecosystem, whatever name you want to use? What are they all a part of and creating as this co-creation? And in this, how do we play our part healthily in harmony? And how do we include all other? First of all, we need to know that we too are just one part, a singularity within a whole. We need to integrate ourselves into the bigger picture. We, by recognizing our own unique expression, see where we then fit in this large puzzle piece, or puzzle I should say, or machine. By being ourselves, it allows us to see what is compatible and allowing what is compatible to come near, and that which is not compatible to be filtered out to what is more compatible with them. This doesn't mean that they disappear, but much like a machine, you have places where more screws are required and more bolts, right? But that doesn't mean on the other side of the machine, you're not using belts and pulleys all over the place. So knowing that there can be differences, but those differences can coexist and co-harmonize with one another. Just like in real life, you may be more compatible with the adventurous and explorative side of yourself, right? While there are other people who also enjoy the opposite, such as homebody behaviors and staying in their comfort zone. This doesn't mean that either or is correct or wrong, or even that one deserves to exist more than the other, or even to have more consciousness than the other, to have more attention of yourself. In the act of integration, you see where at this moment you may be identifying with one thing more than the other, a compatibility with one thing more than the other. But if you lean 90% to one side healthily, you still have that portion which is leaning towards something else. And even if you don't think you are, you do, you have other. This is the part of integration, the integration of both the recognition of oneself, their own unique choice of expression in this moment, and what labeled other is. So we can see what is being observed as compatible or not, also seeing our likes and dislikes, why and why not. From this of integrating, we can also know that at any point it can change. We're transmutable, and we're only expressing in a way which is due to the circumstances which have presented themselves. A quick example is someone growing up in a poor community may have had an interest in providing and caretaking as they got older, due to realizing and firsthand experiencing what it was like to not have, but then also experience what it was like to give to those who don't have. So without that circumstance, they may have never picked up on that interest in that way. Or, for another example, someone may really enjoy the color blue but hate purple. They have a distaste towards it. They may associate one color, blue in that example, with something comforting in their memory, but then the other color, purple, with an unpleasant and distasteful experience. Our interests, our compatibility, and our desires are all based on our perception, our identity, and our ideas around our environment. Integrating things like this look like curiosity and recognition, why and where our interests or desires came from. What did we dislike? And we can learn why we have distaste and resistance towards it. But we can also learn why we like certain things, why we feel more drawn towards certain things. If it's all us, why do we dislike it? Or why do we feel so drawn to it? And if it is something you feel resistance to, ask yourself, is this something you feel keeping you away from your desire in your mind's eye? Are you perceiving it to be holding a block up to you? This is one side of integration, the recognition of what we are choosing now, in this moment, and including the wide-scale unity, that which already is, but perhaps not you in this present moment. This whole can be seen like that of the whole puzzle piece together, or the machine working in harmony. In this, I want you to understand that just because you have chosen one expression does not mean you can't change to another. Or, even at a larger scale, that you are not expressing that other expression, that energy, at some other level, because you are, at a larger scale, expressing that. To even connect to that energy is a sort of expression. There's a level of healthy non-attachment to identification. The identifying is nothing more than objectively observing what you are choosing in this moment, not bound to what you have been, and also not separate from what you could be choosing. You are whole, completely and utterly. Not only the fact that you are whole, but you are the whole. You are the entire expression. This whole is very much existing, but it is through our experiences and choices which uncover which was already there. This, labeled integration, is where we can look at the parts of self of this body that we call ourselves, and also the self of wide scale, the collective, not even to say just humanity, but beyond that in universal and expansive ways. We see what we have denied, or perhaps just have been unknowing of. Much like a puzzle piece covered in dirt, we are unable to see what's under that dirt, under that cover, until we start to scrape the surface. Now, through the act of becoming conscious, we start to unveil what was already there. We start looking at our surroundings, which always existed, but perhaps we were not aware of. We weren't understanding the depth of what they were expressing. Perhaps we start to see personality traits and ideas, beliefs, or emotional triggers much more strongly and bluntly. So, from the first state of integration, we see who we are. From this, we have seen one part of the puzzle piece. Then, by acknowledging that we are choosing this piece and not another, we see other. You see that? This creates the snowball effect to begin becoming conscious of other. Other meaning nothing more than that which is not being consciously chosen, okay? Whether it is your own body or from universal collective energy, this leads us to our next state of integration, which allows us the acknowledgement of that other. And because we know other is nothing more than what we're not aware of, this leads us to our understanding that there is more. That there is more than what we're identifying with in this moment, and more than what we are and what we have been. This is sort of like a glimmer of hope when you're in this stage. But beyond that, this is your stepping stone to understanding that you have always been more. So this state of integration is like picking up the other puzzle pieces and beginning to see where you fit with them. And perhaps if the puzzle pieces you have been playing as is even what you want, if it's the most authentic version of yourself after seeing what options of expression that were around you expressed as other. From this, we can begin to express more authentically. From seeing where our authenticity is, we can be more compatible and begin connecting more authentically because we're expressing in our genuine selves. We begin making a bigger picture from the state of acknowledging other. We have unconditionality and now we're being connected. This is the point, well, I should say this is where the main point of integration leads us to. Our third state of integration is being able to objectively observe, unconditionally, all other things. This means seeing you and other as no different in terms of any subjective viewing. Only objectively do you see what it is that other is expressing and even yourself. There's no judgment. There is genuinely just unconditional observation at this point. Like the state of putting those puzzle pieces together, we can see and create that whole puzzle piece. We start to see it come together, right? We have everyone in their rightful spot. That is what this stage is like. You're creating that puzzle piece and that puzzle picture. You could also see this as already having the puzzle together, but having it dirtied, and you're cleaning it off and unveiling what's underneath. Why is this integration? The integration in this step comes from the action of conscious awareness, the acknowledgement of all. There is a commitment to understanding and unifying with other. There is no longer a me against you mindset. Even within your own psyche, as for a true win, all parts need to be winning. Such thing as a win-lose scenario means realistically everyone lost. It's not an actual win for anyone. If you're in an ecosystem, one loses, we all lose. We can't work together and thrive together. You begin to step outside of your own puzzle piece and you begin to feel more connected to those other puzzle pieces. You see yourself in everything. You aren't this singular identification anymore, but you see yourself as the full puzzle. Not just a piece, not just a combination of some, and not others, but you are the entirety in this state of integration. This is integration, the state of awareness shared to every expression. This can also be seen as the web which ties you and all together. In this state, you aren't suppressing any singular expression. You don't have judgment for any sort of expression. You don't have judgment for the things that show up in your surroundings, for the things that may seem like resistance. You don't have judgment for them. You simply see where they fit and where they don't, what they look like, what they're expressing. You're seeing the underlying energies now. Why are they expressing in that way even is something you begin to ask yourself. You see every fraction of expression. You see their use, their worthiness, and their helpful aid in just being. And you also see them as you. It's as simple as just being. Now, off the metaphor, integration is nothing more than seeing yourself as source, not yourself as the singularity, in this incarnated singularity through, this singular incarnated expression is immensely helpful. Don't get me wrong, it aids us to become aware of what we call singularities. Because, let's be honest, a whole is made up of tinier things. We can go down and down to the most dense fractions of specifics. But at that point, we also have a choice, right? That whole point of getting to singularities. We can get more and more divided in the act of seeing all the others and differences. Or we can choose to see how vast and expansive our own expression is at the larger whole. And through that acknowledgement of how many differences there are in this singularity, we see how diverse it is, how diverse we are. Just from our own bodies, we don't identify with one emotion or one personality. We can feel our own expressions change, whether it's throughout decades of our lives, years, months, maybe even just days, hours even. We change so often, and we experience things and express things differently in different versions in every moment. So why are we binding ourselves to this body, to just this body of identification, and to identification in the first place? This state of being in this human form is not to be taken lightly or suppressed, but it is to see the beauty in the fact that you are experiencing something of a singularity. You are a singularity. Stop trying to run from that, or even what some people do, wanting to get rid of the body altogether and singularities in general. We are not separate just because we are only consciously aware in this body. We are not separate just because we are not conscious of other. It is our consciousness which has chosen to, quote-unquote, forget, or, so to speak, suppress and separate from all else. This doesn't actually mean it is all separate. Like being in a dark room, just because you can't see what's around you, just because one perception cannot pick up on what's going on around you, does not mean you are alone. If you start tapping into some of your other senses, you start to pick up on what's there. Maybe you hear them. Maybe you taste the air. You smell the air. You know what I mean? This body is helpful in integrating because it shows singularities left and right through our senses, through sound, through sight. You can't escape specifics. You can't escape contrast in this body. But it allows you, in the contrast, to see other. Other meaning something you haven't been fully aware of, or haven't been aware of yet. This body allows the perfect circumstances to make you aware of other, your larger self. Actually, this time and space reality in general is perfect for integration. Why? Because the act of integration is to take two separate things and combine them back to whole. So, in this very separated manifestation of time-space reality of life we live in, we are forced to see what makes one thing different from another. But to thrive, we are also forced to see how they are one and how they interact with another. We're also forced to see where they're intertwined at a deeper level and how do they affect or are an effect from another. How can they be harmonized in the greater whole with each other? Because that's what we need to do if we're actually looking for harmony. You can't ignore one thing and expect another to work. So, through likes and dislikes, you can ask yourself why. Why do I like it, hate it, enjoy it, feel uncomfortable? Why do I feel scared, grieved, angry, or perhaps on the other side of emotion, like there's an endless fire of desire? Why do I feel separate is the question you need to ask. At the end of the day, it all leads back to one thing: unity or separation. Integration is no different. This topic that we're discussing today is exactly that. It is the manifestation of becoming whole from the state of perceived separation. So, this whole idea is surrounded by the question of, do you feel whole or do you feel separate? These bodies, it's true, it's easy to get caught up in playing this game. Like entertaining a video game so long and you get so invested, you start trying to move your head around, to peek around the walls, or jump, getting that stomach drop when, let's say, you fall too high in the game. We get invested into this life so much we think this is only us. We start to become this. But this is not what we are. We may believe we're just the singularity, but in this game of life, we're actually choosing to be this singularity to experience. We are not just the singularity. We have chosen to experience a singularity. Like the quote, "to be in this world, but not of it," we are not bound to the human body or what it can achieve. We are not bound to anything or any expression, as we are free in source. The second that we actually believe that and recognize our truth once more, we have awoken to unity, to our integrated self. This entire life is aiming for you to wake up to yourself. This entire life will be full of trying to integrate ourselves. You will spend your entire life experiencing things to allow you more opportunities to be more inclusive and more welcoming to all parts of yourself. It will push you. It will push your comforts and everyone and everything that you have ever felt slight resistance to. It will push you because its whole point is to rid you of the resistance that you have between all. This resistance keeping you from the fact that you are them, you are all, you are it. This life and incarnation is just that, to come to integrate. We came to experience the energies at play. We came to be the energies in motion. Integrate by observing the expression you call your own. Integrate by acknowledging your body. Integrate by observing that which is not in your own body. And integrate by seeing that there is not a single thing that is not objectively you of source. You are not just this body. but you have chosen this body to be and interact through. Enjoy the expression of being a singularity, a collective singularity, if that makes you feel better. But it's all the same. You're one in all. And don't forget that you are not only connected to all and affecting all other, but beyond the you of your name and that which you have identified with in this life, the you of Source knows much more and is much more than you could ever even fathom. So enjoy integrating, a process that, although is never complete, doesn't need your completion. Rather, at a higher level, it is already complete and already knows its whole. You're just helping those parts which have forgotten what they're connected to and are deep down. I am thankful to you to have come to learn more about integration, to learn more about yourself and of Source, and even more grateful just to have you. Thank you for coming to enjoy time together. Integration complete. Enjoy.